Hi there BookTube, it's Eleanor here and it's time for my August/September book haul. I was doing really well and then I didn't, and I bought quite a lot of books. I haven't spent an awful lot of money though. They're all secondhand or cheapies from the charity shop, so I don't mind, and yeah, I'm really pleased with the books that I've picked and I'm excited about them. So the first stack that I'm going to show you are books that I talked about in my giveaway video for the Book Buddy-a-thon, and when I was researching the list, a lot of books came up and most of them I hadn't read, and I researched them and I wanted to include them in that giveaway video, and then I decided that I actually wanted them too. So obviously the winner of that won a new copy of the book of their choice, but I've just picked myself up secondhand ones of all the ones I was interested in. So I picked up The Group by Mary McCarthy. I really like the front cover of this. It's apparently, I think, a story of a group of friends after college, and it follows their lives. It's set in 1930s New York, so I'm really excited about this one. A story that I haven't read that needs rectifying. In December I am planning a Count of Monte Cristo read, a long-ish thing, so watch this space for that. So I shall be reading that in December, and so it was high time that I picked up The Three Musketeers because it needs to be read, and this is by Alexandre Dumas as well. A book that I've heard a few things about and only good things, and that is Firefly Lane by Kristin Hannah. I talked about this again in that video. If you want to know more of the synopses of these ones, I do talk about it in that video, which is my Book Buddy-a-thon giveaway video. It's a couple of weeks ago, so check that one out. I'll try and link it below if I can remember, if you want any more in-depth. This one is about two friends. I think it's about a girl who's in 8th grade maybe, and she's sort of knows that she's accepted that she's bottom of the pecking order, you know, she's not the popular kid, and then someone else turns up at school who is popular but wants to be her friend, and I think it's about their friendship, and it's set in the 70s, which I really enjoy. And then the last one for this is Judy Blume's Summer Sisters. I loved Judy Blume growing up. They were just books that I read. I remember the controversy about certain books when they came out. I remember just really enjoying them. And I believe that this is an adult novel. It's about two girls, their relationship, how they fall apart, and how they come back together for one of theirs wedding. And it's about, I suppose, mending and building bridges. But you know, Judy Blume always writes great books and ones that I find really engaging and easy to read, so I'm looking forward to this one. The next stack of books are books that I may not get to straight away, but I've certainly been feeling this sort of need recently to read more classics, but I'm very picky because classics aren't a genre of choice for me, and so I wanted to think about the books that I was picking. Now, the books that I have picked are popular books, but they are books that I've wanted to read and I think will appeal to me. So the first one is one that just I feel like is on everyone's bucket list and needs to be read, and I've heard some interesting reviews recently, so at some point I'm going to give it a go, and that is Moby Dick by Herman Melville. The copies I've all picked up are Penguin English Library because I really love these editions with the stripes on it, and the covers I think are beautiful. So I've picked up Moby Dick because at some point I'm going to give this one a go. Next up is a book I actually own on Kindle, but for some reason I'm struggling to read off my Kindle at the moment, so I wanted to pick it up in a proper copy, and that is Vanity Fair by William Makepeace Thackeray. I absolutely adore the story of this. I watched the film over and over, and I really want to actually read the book itself. It is a massive book, but perhaps one for next sort of Christmas time where I seem to want to read bigger books, but definitely going to try and get to this next year. The next one I picked up is Persuasion by Jane Austen. I love Pride and Prejudice, and that is the only Austen that I've actually read. I've watched all the adaptations of everything, but Persuasion is one that I'm really interested in. It sounds like a really great story. It's not too long, which I like. It's about a woman who is forced or coerced to break off her engagement to someone because he's not good enough for her, and he then returns and yeah, perhaps there is love in here. I have heard this is a really good story and one of Jane Austen's best by people that I trust and who I have similar taste with in other types of books. So I'm excited to try this one. So I also picked up Middlemarch by George Eliot in the same edition, in the Penguin English Library edition. I am so excited to read this. It's a massive one. So that is all of the sort of classics, the Penguin classics that I decided to pick up to give a go. Some more books that I picked up on various recommendations or because I saw and they looked good. The first is called Under the Lights by Dahlia Adler. I can't remember whose channel I saw this on first, but I definitely saw it on Wolf's Whistle. So this looks like a really interesting and fun story, and it's quite a short one, so I'm looking forward to that one. You may have seen on my underrated reads recommendations that I talked about the Perfume Collector by Kathleen Tesserow, and I saw in my charity shop another book by her called The Debutante, and I just picked it up. I haven't even read the back because I enjoyed the Perfume Collector so much that I just picked it up on a whim, and I'm really excited to give this one a go. Next was also a pick-up in the charity shop, and that was Fire Spell by Laura Amy Schultz. Again, I don't know an awful lot about this. It said, it's Clara Wintermute's birthday. A puppet master and his two orphan helpers have come to stage a spellbinding show in the vast, lonely Wintermute house. But that night, when the curtain closes and darkness falls, Clara disappears. Sorry, I'm laughing because my daughter's doing roly-polies in the background. The obvious suspects are Lizzie Rose and Parsfall, the two orphans. After all, Clara had everything they didn't: food, luxury, a loving home. But the reality is far more sinister, and the two children may in fact be her only chance of escape. As they begin to unravel the truth, all three are caught up in a deadly struggle between the puppet master and a witch of extraordinary power. Sounds just really mystical and exciting. Then I picked up On Dublin Street by Samantha Young. I've heard about this a few times. I think it's a new adult or an adult romance. I quite like these. I like to intersperse them with other books, and I saw it and it was in the charity shop, so I picked it up. Again, in the charity shop, I picked up Sunshine by Robin McKinley. This is on my wish list, and so when I saw it, I thought I had to pick it up. I've heard that it's a vampire story, but it's a darker vampire story and much more gritty, so I'm really excited to give this one a go. Here's a book that I heard about a lot on Book Riot's channel, and that is Ali Hughes Has Sex Sometimes by Jules Moulin. I've heard this is a really good story. It's about a woman, and when she's young, in her 20s, she has a love affair with a young man, and we skip it's a short affair, doesn't last long, and then years later her daughter is living in Hollywood and she's dating a Hollywood actor, and she brings him home for the holidays, and it turns out to be the guy that the mum has had sex with. And I hear it's just a really interesting and really fun read, and I love the title and the look of the book, so I had to pick it up and see for myself. The next two books are both by the same author and both sort of fairy tale retellings. The first one is Confessions of a Stepsister by Gregory Maguire, and the second one is Mirror Mirror by Gregory Maguire. He wrote Wicked, which I really loved, both the stage show and the book for, which is sort of a Wizard of Oz setting book. So I'm really excited to give these ones a go. Confessions of an Ugly Stepsister. It is set in the backdrop of 16th century Holland, and it is about I'll read you the back. We all know the story of beautiful girl Cinderella, made to work among the ashes, but what if the fairy tale told only the half story? What fate befell her ugly stepsisters? What curses accompanied Cinderella's looks? So that sounds interesting. And then this one is again by the same author, and this one is about set in 1502. 7-year-old Bianca de Nevada lives perched high above the hills in the valleys of Tuscany and Umbria at Montefiore, the farm of her beloved father Don Vincente. But one day a noble But one day a noble entourage makes its way up the winding slopes of the farm and the world comes to Montefiore. In the presence of Cesare Borgia and his sister, the lovely and vain Lucrezia, decadent children of a wicked pope, no one can stay innocent for long. When Borgia sends Don Vincente on a years-long quest, he leaves Bianca under the care, so to speak, of Lucrezia. She plots a dire fate for the young girl in the woods below the farm, but in the dark forest salvation can be found as well. And this is a Snow White story. I really love the more dark, gritty aspect of Gregory Maguire's work. I've also got his Egg and Spoon, which I haven't read yet, on my shelf, so at some point I'm going to be having a fairy tale reading. The next book is my Willoughby Book Club pick, which came in September, at the beginning of September, and they have picked for me Traitor's Blade by Sebastian de Castell. I haven't heard of this. I think it's a fantasy story, and it's book one apparently in the Greatcoats series, so I'm really excited to try this one. They always pick really good books, and this one should be no exception. And then the final stack of books are all books that I've heard about on other people's channels and just really wanted to read, and so have picked up as and when I've seen them. The first one is called Shine 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 by Lydia Netzer. I think I saw this on Lavender Mudd's channel. She's got a great channel, you should definitely check it out. This is shortlisted for the LA Times Book Prize for Fiction 2012, and it's been blurbed by some really great people, Karen Abbott, and then some various New York Times, Look Magazine, People Magazine, Independent on Sunday. It's a story of two children, Maxon and Sunny, growing up and falling in love, and then one of them is then on a NASA space mission in their 20s, I think. Yeah, sort of 20, in their late 20s, 30s, and it's about their relationship and space. So what could be better? Next is a book called The Visionist by Rachel Urquhart, I think. This is a story set in a Shaker community, which I know nothing about, if I'm honest, and it's about a girl who I think kills her father at 15 to stop his abusive behaviour, possibly, and it just sounded like a really compelling story, and I was interested to find out more about the Shaker religion, or Shaker community? Shaker community. I can't remember where I saw this, but it might have been one that was mentioned by John Green for some reason, makes me think, but I'm not sure. And it's called Boy Proof by Cecil Castellucci. This cover's really interesting. It says her name is Egg. She named herself after the kick-ass heroine of the favourite sci-fi movie Terminal Earth. She always knows the right answers. She's always in control. She can't be bothered with friends, much less members of the opposite sex. As far as she's concerned, she's boy-proof, and she likes it that way. I think it was John Green, and he said what a great story this was, and I'm really interested to give it a go. It's a short book, but sounds like it's going to be a really interesting read. I've wanted to read this book for ages, and I can't find it anywhere in the library. It's online, but it's quite expensive, and so I decided that rather than read the book, which I may go back and do at a later stage, I was going to buy myself The Last Unicorn by Peter S. Beagle as a graphic novel, and I can't wait. In fact, by the time you've watched this, I've probably already read it. I'm just really excited about this. It sounds, well, it's always mentioned in like one of the best sort of sci-fi fantasy books, and it comes up on all of those lists that are online. Ooh, that was the receipt. And yeah, I just can't wait to give this story a go. It sounds magical, and unicorns are both mine and my daughter's favourite thing. Next up is Stephen King's Mr. Mercedes. I am a little slow getting on the bandwagon for this one, but I really, really love the sound of it, and there's a few out now. It's sort of Stephen King's thriller crime novels, and it just sounds like a really interesting story. I believe this one is about a man that is on sort of a shooting spree, and it's about trying to catch him before he does it again, and yeah, I just really wanted to give this one a go. I've been umming and ahhing for ages, but it was about time that I picked it up. And then I'm almost positive that this last one I saw on Sam from Thoughts on Tomes channel, and it was in her birthday book haul, I believe, and I think it's her dad's favourite book, and so she'd picked it up, and I read the synopsis because it's a book I'd never heard of, and it sounds brilliant. It's called, I think, Molokai by Alan Brennert. What a beautiful cover. I just think it's beautiful. It's set in Hawaii and it's about leprosy, and it's about a young girl of 7 who has dreams, and then one day a mark appears on her and she's sent to a leper colony, and I just think it sounds like a really interesting story. I read Victoria Hislop's story The Island, which is also about leper colonies, and this was a good few years ago now, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I loved that story, and it was so moving and interesting and something that you don't read about very often, and so I thought this one sounded brilliant. And I have to admit, after I saw the cover on Sam's channel, I was a bit like, I need to own that, it's so beautiful. So yeah, I picked up that one. So that is my book haul for the last few months. There's quite a lot of books there. I'm really pleased with the ones I picked. I feel really happy with them, and I'm looking forward to getting stuck in as soon as I can. So let me know if you've read any of these, or if any of them take your interest. Let me know what you thought of the ones that you have read, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye for now, BookTube.